Hello and welcome to Crime and Court. My name is Heather and this is the trial of Steven Avery. We're doing a total deep dive into the case of the Making Behind a Murderer, Netflix's hit series. And we're currently looking through the testimony of Steven Avery. Why can't I think of words today? Because I'm always thinking about multiple things at once. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. That's why. Here we go. All right, sorry about that. So here is I've been going through the list of all of the different witnesses with you. We left off on, I believe it was day 6. Sorry, so we're still pretty early on in the case. No, we did a little bit of 6 and 7. We read through some of the testimony from the DNA analyst from the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, and then we skipped through some testimony from some of the law enforcement, but we read through Sergeant Andrew Colburn's almost in his entirety, the testimony that he had, and that's day 7. So technically week 2, because you go by 5 days a week, so we would be in week 2 of this trial. And what was I going to say? Oh, so we left off with Sergeant Colburn. And the next one that we're going to, am I even showing you the right thing? I keep looking at the wrong screen. So we are February 7th. I'm sorry, February 20th, day 7. I keep doing that. Day 7 of the trial, February 20th, 2007 is when we will continue from. So we left off from Sergeant Colburn, who was the second of 3 witnesses on the stand that day, and then we've got Lieutenant Lenk, who is going to go from day 7 into day 8, and we're gonna I haven't decided yet if we're gonna do Detective Remaker or not. I was going to, but I think maybe it's overkill because we've got Lenk and Colburn who really prove that there's some questionable activity going on. And I don't know, I'll read through the Remaker testimony and I will let you know if there's anything that it really adds to it, or if we should just, I can't tell which way my hair goes. Well, I know my hair goes this way, but it's not mirrored in my webcam. It's so weird. Okay. All right. So let's start with the the direct examination of Sergeant Lenk. He is a lieutenant sergeant. I don't know what the difference is. All right, so attorney, which one is it? Hold on. So that's an exhibit later we'll look at. All right, that's day 8. So we're on day 7, February 20th. State's witness, Lieutenant James Lenk. I have a picture of him right below me. No, this way. It's not mirrored. It's so weird. This way. All right, that's James Lenk. Just so you guys have a reference, a picture in your mind. And we will talk about some different, a couple different exhibits, and I'll show you along the way as we go. So here we go. All right, so Attorney Kratz is doing the questioning. Attorney Kratz is right above where my mouse is rotating. All right, in case you need a visual. So, Attorney Kratz, Mr. Lenk, how are you employed? I'm employed with the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. In what capacity, sir? I'm a lieutenant of detectives. What are your duties as lieutenant? to distribute work amongst the other detectives, to supervise other detectives, also to take cases myself. What was I going to say? I was totally going to say something. And oh, I'm not going to read through, I remember now. I'm not going to read through his entire testimony. I'm going to skip through some parts because it's long and I really want to get to the important parts. So I might skip over some. Just if I do skip over stuff, just know that it probably wasn't anything huge. All right. So, all right. Question. So together with the supervisory responsibility, you have an active caseload. Is that right? That's correct. Now I'm going to skip. He talks about some more of his duties and all that. All right. So question. And as a lieutenant in the Detective Bureau, were you made aware of a missing persons investigation that Calumet County had begun? And he says, yes, I was. How were you made aware of that? I received a phone call from Investigator Wiegert asking for assistance on a missing female. And from there, I'm going to skip down some more. Question. If you can assist the jury, Lieutenant Lenk, that first day, that is, the first day of the missing persons investigation, the 3rd of November, what was it that your agency, that Manitowoc, was asked to assist with? We were asked to assist with the missing female, Teresa Halbach, to assist the Calumet County officer that was coming to our county to go to a couple locations. I believe at least one location to see if they could gain information to her possible whereabouts. I'm going to skip some more. All right, on the 4th, that would be on Friday, the 4th of November, he goes through like every single day and like, where were you? What were you doing? So we're not going to go through it like in that fine detail, but we will read a lot of his testimony. Anyways, all right. So, all right. On the 4th, that would be on Friday, the 4th of November, did you personally become involved in the Manitowoc County portion of this investigation? Yes, sir. Could you tell the jury how you became involved? Again, I received a telephone call from Investigator Wiegert requesting that we go out and re-interview Steven Avery. And did you proceed to Mr. Avery's property that day? Yes, I did. Who did you go with? Detective Remacher. Now, Lieutenant Lenk, had you ever been to the Avery salvage yard as of the 4th of November? No, I hadn't. Did you know where you were going on the property? No. When you got to, or did you proceed to that scene? Yes. When you got to the scene, where did you and Detective Remacher go? We turned to the right on Avery Lane. I guess it is towards Steven's trailer. To assist the testimony, I'm going to show you a much referred to exhibit. It's exhibit number 86. Do you recognize that exhibit? And so this is the, whoops. Let me bring that forward here. This is the overhead. I mean, it's a very large picture and I have it zoomed in quite a bit, but this is the property. It's huge. And that's not even all of it. Some of it's still in the background. So I wanted to show you this because this is the photo that they refer to often. However, I took the liberty to make some markings of my own so I don't have to keep trying to explain where things are. So this is the actual same overhead, the same 86 exhibit. I just put some markings on here. So you can see where Chuck's trailer is all the way to your left and at the top portion. And then all those white buildings are the business buildings, and that's the main entrance into the salvage yard. But what you don't see is the rest of the, so let's see, you guys see my mouse again? Okay, so underneath the picture, if you can see right where my mouse is, this is where the road splits. It goes into the business building area, or you can go straight and go to Chuck's, or you can turn right and go down this road here. So I'm going to also show you, just for reference, now this is a totally different perspective. So now you've got Chuck, who is down below, because we're looking north, south, east, west now, instead of just an aerial photo. So now you can see the layout and the Avery, you can see on the map where it says Avery Salvage Yard, Avery Auto Salvage, and that road right there is where he turned. That's where he's going to be talking about. He turned to go down to Steven Avery's trailer, which you can see also identified on the map. So I hope that helps. I really wanted to give you guys a better view, because this view cuts it off, and it's also not totally accurate. So because this is the north, from the north perspective. So just giving you a little bit of info into, or a little visual. I know people like visuals, so I'll leave that up for a little bit while he talks about it. I'll continue to talk. You can still hear me. No, you can't see me. All right, so where did I leave off? To assist in your testimony, here's 86. And this is Exhibit 86, my version, with the correct markings. All right, yes, I do, sir. What is that? That's the Avery Salvage Yard. And when you and Detective Remacher got to this location, tell the jury where you went. There's a laser pointer if you need it, just to your right there, if that would assist you. We came in, it's hard to tell the area here. We came in this road, we turned to the right. Why did you turn right? Habit, I guess, just turned to the right. And I'm going to stop there, because who turns to the right on habit? If you're driving a car and you're talking about habit, you're going to go straight. So you would have ended up at Chuck's, right? I mean, most people don't just turn just to turn. I don't know. I don't know why he says out of habit. I think that's really strange. When he said he has had no dealings with Avery in the past, he didn't know where this place was, but he knew exactly how to get to his trailer on first arrival. It's really strange to me. All right. We came in, it's hard to tell. We turned right. Habit, I guess. All right. Tell the jury where you went, please. We went down to almost the end of the road, and we exited the vehicle. Detective Remacher went up to the house trailer to knock on the door with no response, after which we went to, I believe, the Jonda trailer again, which I have labeled as Dassey, because it's the Dassey boys that live there. Jonda, her name changes. It's Barb's trailer. Barb, formerly Avery, formerly Jonda, formerly I don't know if she was Dassey, but formerly lots of names, and currently Todick. So that's why I labeled it Dassey, so it was less confusing, and I just confused you all now if you don't know. All right, so there was no response at the Dassey trailer. As we were getting ready to leave, there was a golf cart coming down the lane towards us. And who was on that golf cart? Steven Avery and his mother. Did you have occasion to make contact with both Steven and his mother at that time? We talked to Steven, yes. Upon speaking to Mr. Avery... Hold on, my dog's trapped. He couldn't get around the other dog. And she'll bark and snap at him if he comes too close to her. So, alright, sorry, I had to move something out of the way. Alright, so we talked to Steven, yes. Upon speaking to Mr. Avery, did you and Detective Remacher ask for an opportunity to look in the inside of his trailer? Yes, Detective Remacher asked permission to look inside his trailer. And was that done? Yes, it was. How long did that take? Approximately 5 minutes. Mr. Avery. Oh, sorry, Mr. Avery cooperative during the entire process? Yes, he was. And you think back to that specific time, Lieutenant Lenk, do you have an independent memory of your sense of whether Mr. Avery may have been involved in Teresa Halbach's disappearance? My memory at that point was that I did not think there was any involvement with Mr. Avery. So at this point, they still, I mean, he's not a suspect, but they did go talk to him again. So they knew who he was, law enforcement. They knew about this. Well, we'll get into the deposition, which was just crazy. That these three Manitowoc officers, two of which who have been deposed just very recently for this, for the very person whose property they're on, it's just ridiculous. In a civil suit for that person. They should have never been there. All right. My memory at that point was that I did not think there was any involvement with Mr. Avery. So, right there. He was not a suspect at that moment. Question. So you, Lieutenant James Lenk, the head of the Detective Bureau, on the 4th of November, didn't even think that Steven was involved. Is that what you're telling us? That's correct. I mean, I would say that was good for the defense, I don't think that's a good thing for the state, but that's the state's point. If that's what they want to make, that's their time, I guess. All right, so let me ask you this, Lieutenant Lenk. With that having been said, did you take any steps from that point forward to either plant evidence or to ensure that Mr. Avery would be falsely accused of that homicide? No, sir, I definitely did not. Is that something that you have ever done in your law enforcement career? No, sir, I have never planted any evidence at any time. Would you ever do something like that? No, sir, I would not. And they go into more of his searches and whatever was going on those days. They tried to pin down like different days what you were doing and where, I think. All right, so question. Now, when you got to the scene, the Avery salvage scene, had there been any kind of log-in or check-in procedure put in place yet? I don't recall a log-in at that point. Because we know he does not log in. He logs out, but he doesn't log in. All right, I just don't recall. What did you do when you got to the scene? I met with the officers that were at the scene, some from Manitowoc County, some from Calumet County. Where did you meet with them? Right at the beginning of the roadway where the command center would have been set up. Can you show us on the diagram, or excuse me, the photo? Would have been right in this area. All right. Question. Do you remember who you met with or who you saw at that time? I know I talked to Deputy Inspector Shutter. I'm not real sure who else was there from our department that I talked with. Quite a few officers there. From a hierarchy standpoint, or who's the boss kind of standpoint, is Deputy Inspector Shutter, or was he at that time ahead of you or on top of you regarding authority or rank within the department? Yes, he was. Do you recall, Lieutenant Lenk, sorry, I called him Rank. Do you recall, Lieutenant Lenk, being involved or overhearing discussions regarding who should lead up this investigation? I believe by the time I got there that they had already decided that Calumet County would lead the investigation. All right. All right, now looking at Exhibit 86 and remembering back to the first late afternoon, do you remember whether manpower issues were a factor that afternoon? Yes, sir, they were a factor. Could you describe that for the jury? What does that mean? That means that there was a very large area, the search warrants were already obtained, and there was limited manpower to search that area. I'm sure most, if not all, of these potential jurors have not been to a crime scene. Is this a typical crime scene by way of size and scope? No, sir, it's not. Can you describe better or explain that for the jury, please? Most crime scenes are a smaller area, either a house or a small yard or a room. This area was immense. When you arrived, did you appreciate the size or the scope of this effort? Yes, I also got a further appreciation the more I looked around the property. All right. What did you believe Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department involvement was going to be at the scene? Our involvement was to be part of the search team, basically extra eyes and hands to do the searching. Are you familiar with the term evidence tech? Yes, sir. What is that? It's an individual on the police department or sheriff's department that has had some training in how to gather evidence and package evidence at a crime scene. You talked about manpower before. Was there an abundance of evidence techs at the scene? No, sir, there was not. Are you an evidence tech, or were you? Yes, sir. Do you know at that scene what other members of Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department would have similar training or experience as an evidence tech? Yes, sir. Sergeant Andy Colburn and Detective Dave Remacher, the three guys that have, coincidentally, they all have the same or similar evidence tech experience when it comes time for them to wanting to be involved. All right, so now, I just think they wanted to plant themselves into the situation. It's my opinion, but anyways. All right, so now, Lieutenant Lenk, prior to your arrival at the Avery Salvage Yard on the 5th, had you had previous dealings or contact with Steven Avery? Just the contact on the 4th of November, so he interviewed him that day. When he, by instincts, turned right. I don't know. Can't make this stuff up. Some of the stuff is just like so blatantly ridiculous. Like the stuff going on in the Karen Reed case right now, it's nuts. Nuts. Anyways, I'm not even going to get into it. All right. Do you recall being one of the many individuals involved in what's called a deposition for Mr. Avery? Yes, sir. And can you tell the jury about that process, please? Well, the process was I received a subpoena to give a deposition in the Avery lawsuit against Manitowoc County. Did you respond to that subpoena? Did you provide testimony? Yes, sir, I did. And so the jury understands when Mr. Avery was wrongfully convicted back in 1985, were you a member of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department? No, I was not. Then what involvement did you have? In other words, what was your part of the deposition? The part of the deposition was that I received a statement from Sergeant Colburn in 2003, I believe September, that he had taken a phone call back in 1997 from another department. I believe he said it was Brown County Sheriff's Department. And he said that they had in custody an individual that had committed an assault in Manitowoc County, and that Manitowoc County had someone in custody for that assault. Is that all? That's all. Did you ever receive that call back in the mid-90s? No, sir, I did not. So your deposition was that you heard that Andy Coburn got such a call. Is that right? Yes, sir. Whoops. Yes, sir. I received the information from Andy himself. Did that lawsuit cause you any personal or professional embarrassment? No, sir, it did not. Did that lawsuit create any angst or ill feelings on your part? No, sir, it did not. I'm not buying this BS. Did that lawsuit cause you or compel you to plant any evidence in this case? No, sir, definitely not. What did you feel about that lawsuit? Do you remember? I pretty much didn't care one way or the other. I call bullshit. That's not true. One way or another, you don't care if you have to have your reputation tarnished by someone who you believe is below you, beneath you. I don't know. That's my opinion about him. All right. Whoops. Lieutenant Lenk, were you made aware that search teams were being assembled? Yes, sir. And was there anything unique about the law enforcement officers that were being selected for those search teams, if you know? I don't know specifically, other than that they were to have a Calumet officer in charge of the team. What I'm asking, though, is the other than Calumet County lead person involved, the others that were chosen to be on that team, did they have any unique or smaller quality about them? Yes, sir, they were requesting anyone that had evidence technician experience. Even if you've got a pending lawsuit against the guy you're trying to take down. Who was in charge, or who was the lead officer in your search team? Sergeant Bill Tyson. Now, you are a lieutenant, and he was a sergeant. Is that right? That's correct, sir. Did you have any question or problem with talking or taking directional orders from Sergeant Tyson? No, because he ranked higher than him. All right, so tell the jury, if you recall, when that first team was assembled, if there were particular responsibilities that each officer had. Each officer was assigned a certain area of searching. It was done as a team, but each officer was assigned a certain particular area of a room or a living room or kitchen of an area that he was responsible for, or a team of officers would be responsible for. All right. Was there division that your team received about items of evidentiary value and who should take them into custody or who should seize them? Yes, we were told that all evidence should be collected by Calumet County officers. All reports would be done by Calumet County officers. And basically, we were there just to assist in the searching process. How shady is that? That they don't even want their basic reports, their basic write-ups for the day when it comes to these individuals, because they just don't want them there. All right, sorry. All right, question. Let's talk about reports for a minute. Wouldn't it be typical for each individual officer at a scene like this to do their own reports? Normally, yes. Are you saying this was different, or you were given different direction? We were given different directions, yes. The first area that you were involved personally in searching on the 5th was what? Steven Avery's trailer. Can you tell us who the other members of your search team were? Sergeant Tyson, Sergeant Colburn, and Detective Remacher. So, yeah, that's not good. All right, question. The jury has already heard this a couple of times, so we're not going to go by piece, I'm sure, thankfully, but could you tell just us the rooms that were searched by the search teams, please? Or could you just tell us? I don't know why I said it like that. Could you just tell us the rooms that were searched by the search teams, please? The rooms that were searched would be the southernmost bedroom, and that would be Steven Avery's trailer, the hallway, the bathroom that is next to the bathroom. Next to the bathroom area is a second bedroom that was searched next to the bathroom, or the second bedroom is the living room area, followed by a kitchenette and the kitchen. I'm not sure my math is great, Lieutenant, but how long have you been a police officer? Just total number of years. 24. In 24 years of law enforcement experience, have you been involved in searches of residences and property before? Yes, I have. Was this first search of the Avery property intended to be a thorough tear the place down type of search? He talks about, like, are there two types of searches, like really thorough searches, or just like curse, what's the word? I don't know. My brain's not working. Just, like initial searches where it's not very thorough. You just look around and you don't see anybody, you move on. All right, so this is no, sir, it was not that kind of search. It was more of a general search. So it was not the tear everything down and look through everything kind of search. All right, I guess that's my question. Maybe tell the jury what you believed a general search was. At that time, a general search was looking for any obvious signs for the missing Teresa Halbach in that trailer. It's pretty generalized at that point. Do you know about how long you guys took in that trailer? I believe it was around 2.5 hours for a general search. All you need to do is peek your head in and say, oh, she's not here. Why did it take 2.5 hours to do a general search? I have questions about that. Was there some meeting or something that occurred before you left? Yes, there was a meeting at the command center. And I'm going to put this image back up on the screen. So they did set up a command center like at the entrance of the business building section. So that is Avery Road there, that goes through the business section. And so that is where they set up their command center, just for reference, because they're talking about a command center here. So was there a meeting? Yes, they met at the command center. What's the purpose of that? To discuss what had been done and what needs to be done the next day. Lieutenant Lenk, any time on the 5th of November, did you have any contact with Teresa Halbach's SUV? No, sir, I did not. Did you have any contact with her SUV on the 4th of November or the 3rd of November, or in fact any time frame then, there before? No, sir, I did not. Were you asked to return to the property that next day, the 6th? Yes, sir, I was. And can you describe for the jury what your responsibilities were on the 6th, please? On the 6th, we went at the command center. We were assigned to Deputy Kacharski, and I believe we went to search the garage on Steven Avery's portion of the property. Describe the kind of search that was, please. Again, this was a general search for only indications of Teresa Halbach. Where did you go after that? I believe we went back. What was she going to say there? I believe we got earlier, or either went back to the command center or received information from them for the next place to search. So that's what they were saying. And I call him a she, I think. Do you remember how long you were in the garage? Roughly, maybe an hour and a half. I'm not exactly sure. So you search the house for 2.5 hours. You search this tiny garage for an hour and a half, and you want us to believe that it's just a general search and that you weren't rummaging through all of his things when both his trailer and his garage are said to have been fairly small and cluttered. So you would see her in like the span of seconds. So why is it taking an hour and a half, 2.5 hours for these searches, for these general searches? All right, so now the question, Lieutenant, is, oops. So now the question, Lieutenant Lenk, is searching the garage for an hour or an hour and a half, do you believe that you found or would have found everything of evidentiary value in that garage? At that time, we thought we found everything that was of evidentiary value. Yes. All right. Do you remember the interior of that garage as you think back? Yes, I do. Was there a lot of things in that garage? Yes, sir. It was full of things. So you admit it's cluttered. So how did he avoid getting spatter on all of his clutter and only keep it contained to the areas that he supposedly cleaned? I don't get it. I don't get their theory. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, sir. It was full of things. All right. Were you informed? Oh, I wasn't going to keep going on. Just reading the highlighted stuff. We're still on direct examination. Ken Kratz is asking the questions. Were you asked to return to Steven Avery's trailer at all? Yes, sir, I think we were. And do you remember the scope of that? I believe we were asked to go back as a team to collect the firearms, a vacuum cleaner, and the bedding, I believe, off the spare room. Why the spare room? Isn't it the other room that they think it happened in? I don't know. This is so confusing. Again, I think they're just trying to make it confusing so the jurors won't know which way to vote. Who was in charge of seizing and taking control of the evidence on that day? Calumet County Officer Deputy Kucharski. On the 6th, Lieutenant Lenk, were there other buildings that you were asked to search? No, sir, there were. Or yes, sir, there were, sorry. What were those buildings? There was a large business office area building. I believe they called it the office. We also searched, I believe it was Chuck Avery's residence. All right. And the same search team that is headed by Kucharski was involved in those searches as well? Yes, sir. All right. And then they get into an argument about, I think it's the file. Oh, no. We broke for the day. They will get an argument in the morning of the 8th. We're going to skip to the 8th right now and continue his direct testimony. Good morning, Lieutenant, and welcome back. We left off yesterday having completed the search efforts that you and other law enforcement officers did on the 6th of November, which was Sunday. We're going to move to Monday now, the 7th of November. Ask if you were asked to return to the Avery salvage property. Sorry, it's like my mouse doesn't always want to work on this. Yes, I was. Sorry. Was he asked to come back to the Avery salvage yard? And yes, he was. Upon the return, your return on the 7th, who were you assigned to work with? On the 7th, it was Sergeant Tyson, Bill Tyson. We heard from him. Or no, we didn't. We skipped through him. Can you describe for the jury, please, your role on the 7th? That is, what responsibilities and duties were you given that day? I believe Sergeant Tyson was given the information to open all the trunks of the cars near the buildings or in the buildings on the property that hadn't been opened already, in case somebody was found in their trunks. I don't know. Did I finish that? I don't know. I'm gonna start from the beginning. So from all, oh wait, hold on. On the property that hadn't already been opened, and to collect firearms from all. Yeah, it says to collect firearms from all buildings, but this isn't the actual warrant, so I don't know what he's showing us here, but okay. If you say so. Oh, excuse me. That like came out of nowhere. I did not expect that. Alright, so let's continue on with our testimony. What do you guys think so far? Let me know in the comments below if you think Sergeant or Lieutenant Lenk, is a good witness, a bad witness for the state. Whoops, I keep doing that. Let me turn you off and turn. No, it's not that one. This one. Okay, so now we're on day 8, February 21st. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. I am so sorry. Alright, need a little stretch to wake myself up. Alright, so buildings. They went to go collect all the firearms from the buildings. Did you assist Sergeant Tyson in that effort? Yes. About how long did that take? At least your part of the trunks of the vehicles that you were searching through. My guess would probably be an hour and a half to 2 hours. After that effort, what did you do then? I believe Sergeant Tyson or we went back to the command center to get another assignment. What was he going to say? He keeps changing what he was going to say in mid-sentence. Sorry, I'm getting froggy again. Alright, so Tyson. Do you remember what your next appointment was? I think at some point we were told to go back to the Avery trailer and get some numbers off the computer, I believe. Alright, did you do that with Sergeant Tyson? Yes. Next day then, on Tuesday the 8th, Lieutenant Lenk, did you once again return to the Avery salvage property? Yes, I did, sir. And on Tuesday the 8th of November, who were you assigned to assist? I was assigned to assist Deputy Kaczarski again. And again, for the justices or for the jury's benefit, since they haven't met Deputy Kaczarski yet, who does he work for? He works for the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Were there any other numbers on your research team? Wait, what? Were there any other members of your search team that day? Myself, Sergeant Coburn, and Deputy Kaczarski. So he keeps putting himself with other individuals that are probably... I don't even know why I'm yawning so much. I slept last night real good. I'm just tired. I don't know. I'm always tired. But it's autoimmune diseases for you. Alright, so myself, Sergeant Colbert, and Deputy Kaczarski. So he keeps putting himself with another officer. Oh my god, I am so sorry. I thought I can fight it. I can't. He keeps putting himself with another officer that also was deposed. So Remacher or Coburn he's with 90% of the time, it seems. All right, so this was to specifically collect magazines and pictures, trying to think the computer related items. I'm not sure if there was anything else specifically that. Was there a search to be performed of other rooms within the home as well? That's correct. I don't like how the judge just cut him off. Can you describe that kind of search and whether or not that was different than one that was performed earlier in the day? This would have been a much more specific search. We were given items to look for. We were also told to do a thorough search of the dwelling besides the items that were given. A thorough search? Did it include the bedroom of Steven Avery? Yes, sir, it did. I'm going to show you what's been received as Exhibit 103. It's a computer animation of him going to zoom into the bedroom area. I've never seen this. And ask if that's going to assist you in describing your search of that bedroom. He always says, I'm going to show you this and ask. I'm going to blah, blah, blah and ask. And it's like your and ask comes out of the blue. Which is weird because he blubbers on so much. So I can't think of this right now. So do I have exhibit? Do have exhibit 103 is this. This is 103. This is how you can see his room. You see his bed, you see the gun racks with 2 long rifles, whatever, shotguns. He's got a nightstand, and then he's got like another little bookcase and a desk underneath the window there. So it's a pretty sweet little spot for him. Alright, so I'm going to zoom into the bedroom, ask if you're going to assist you in describing your search of the bedroom. What? Yes, sir, it will. Okay, was that bedroom thoroughly searched by yourself, Sergeant Coburn, and Deputy Kacharski from the Calumet County Sheriff's Department? On the 8th? Yes. Yes, sir. Sometimes toward, well, let me get back up. Just a minute. Were you in close enough proximity that you were able to see Sergeant Colburn in that bedroom? No, sir. Referring to Exhibit 103, this is a large bedroom. No, sir, it's not. Were you able to see Deputy Kacharski? Yes, sir. Do you recall Lieutenant Lenk giving him a pair of jeans and slippers after being found in this bedroom? Yes, sir, I do. Could you just, using the laser pointer, and just point to the, for the jurors, about where those were located? Approximately right in there. Right next to what we know now as a bookcase. Yes, sir. Did you have collection to impact or look at those bedroom slippers? Yes, sir. Describe that for the jury, please. Describe that for the jury, please. When we first came into the bedroom, the slippers were sitting there. I just picked them up, looked inside them, and put them back down. Did you look underneath them? No. Where'd it go? Where did it go? Sorry, I just lost my spot. Like I scrolled down and it went too far. It might have skipped pages here. Nope. Alright, so we read through all of this. Nah, I can't find it. Alright, let's just start here from the slippers. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know where it went. It just like skipped and something. Alright, so what was the question before that? Do you recall, Lieutenant, like a pair of bedroom slippers being in his bedroom? Yes, sir, I do. Could you just, using the laser pointer, and just point to them for the jurors about where those were located? Approximately right in there. Right next to what we know as a bookcase? Yes, sir. Did you have occasion to inspect or look at those bedroom slippers? Yes, I did. Describe that for the jury, please. When we first came into the bedroom, the slippers were sitting there. I just picked them up, looked inside, and put them back down. Did you look underneath them? Yes, I did. Did you notice anything underneath the slippers when you looked under them? No, sir. There was nothing there. Thereafter, or sometime during the search, were you aware of, and did you see Sergeant Coburn manipulating or moving a piece of furniture now known as the bookcase? Yes, sir. After replacing or pushing back the bookcase, what did you do? After the magazines and the binder were pushed back into the bookcase, I advised Deputy Kacharski that I would go out into the living room and retrieve bags or try to get boxes to put the items that we had recovered. Did you do that? Yes, I did. On your return to the bedroom, tell the jury what you saw. When I entered the bedroom, I caught my eye. I saw a key laying in front of the slippers by the back corner of the cabinet. Now, before Sergeant Colburn's manipulation or banging around on that piece of furniture, had that been there? Had that key been there? Sorry. No, sir, it was not. If you could use your laser pointer again, tell the jury about where in the bedroom you were standing when you saw the key and where was the key. I was coming in that door, and then the key was right on the back corner of the cabinet on the floor. There's been another exhibit which has been admitted into evidence. It's exhibit number 210, yada yada. Actually a video or photograph, sorry. And I couldn't find this one. I couldn't find a picture of this. I'm sure it exists. It's not labeled properly and I can't find it. Alright, so I'm going to show you what's been marked as whatever. Okay. At this time, ask you to tell the jury what you're looking at. You're looking at the cabinet with the slippers and the key that was lying on the floor. Oh, that one I do have. There's another one I don't. This one I do have. And we've all seen this in Making a Murderer. So they're saying it came out of this bookcase, this piece of furniture right here, and it just shook out. And we're supposed to believe that. After this place has already been searched a multitude of times. Alright, so you're looking at the cabinet with the slippers and the key that was lying on the floor. And that image, the view, come on. Is that what you saw on the 8th of November? Yes, sir, it is. After seeing that key, did you direct any activity or was any activity directed between the three of you? I informed the two officers, that there was a key lying on the floor and it was not there before. They all looked at it. At that point, Deputy Kacharski photographed it and subsequently collected it. So I want to point out that they brought in Colburn, I thought, to take photos. Like that was one of his major roles. He said that he did. And yet, when it comes to like these important pieces of evidence, it's this other dude, Kacharski, Deputy Kacharski, taking photos. Or somebody else. Like it's never Colburn taking a photo. Alright. So how did he collect it? Did you witness that? He had a glove on. He collected it. I believe he put it into an evidence bag. Now, Lieutenant Lenk, let me ask you this. Were you surprised to see that key? Yes, sir, I was. Why? It wasn't there before. At what time and at that early stage in observing the key did you believe that it had obvious evidentiary value? When we looked at the key, it appeared to have a Toyota emblem on the key itself. At that point, we thought it might have some significant value. After Deputy Kucharski photographed and collected the key, do you know what was done with it? Deputy Kucharski contacted the officers in charge of the case. Fassbender and Investigator Wiegert told them what we had found, and they subsequently came to the trailer. Was the key provided to them, if you know? I believe at that time it was shown to them, and they said they would send someone back to collect the key. All right, now, Lieutenant Lenk, at that time, or at that moment, that is, after the collection of the key, did you, Deputy Kucharski and Sergeant Coburn, attempt to ascertain where the key had come from or do some further investigation? Yes, we did. Tell the jury what kind of investigation you did, please. We looked at the cabinet. At the back corner of the cabinet, we saw that there was an opening between the back of the cabinet and the side, approximately a half to an inch, and we believed that half an inch to an inch, I don't know, and we believed that the key had fallen out from the cabinet. Can you point to Exhibit 210? And here, I'm going to put it back up for you to look at it. What does she say? Or he say? Hold on, I gotta... 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. And we're back. Alright, so right back in there. Can you point to, point to exhibit number 210 and the back corner where the cabinet had been pulled away. Right back there. Let me show you another exhibit, Exhibit 169. It's already been admitted into evidence. Ask if you recognize this. Yes, sir. This is a cabinet we're talking about. Could you point to the area of, this is the exhibit I don't have, so sorry. You'll just have to imagine what they're saying. That, like, the back portion panel was, there's a gap of a half an inch to an inch that this key just happened to fall out. I don't know. Do you believe that, guys? I think it's a little difficult to believe, but that is what they say. Let me show you another exhibit. It's already been marked into evidence. Okay, so that's the cabinet that we're talking about. Could you point to the area of the back panel being pulled away that you're describing right there? And again, recognizing that this photo was taken on a different day other than the 8th, does exhibit number 169 look the same as it did that morning on the 8th of November? Yes, it does. Lieutenant Lenk, after noting the defect or the abnormality to the camera, did you have any further discussion with your fellow searchers as to the findings of this key, or as to finding this key? Yes, we discussed the fact that it had to have come from the cabinet and probably from all the jostling and tipping the cabinet. Yep, sure. All that jostling tipped it out. On the 9th, that is the next day, Wednesday, were you asked to return to the Avery salvage property? Yes, sir, we were. And what were your responsibilities that day? I was assigned with also Sergeant Coburn to Deputy Wendling to assist him in searching. Who is Wendling? He's an officer with the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. As part of Deputy Wendling's team on the 9th of November, were you asked to perform any searches that day? Yes, we were. Do you remember where you searched that day? We went back to the Steven Avery trailer and we also searched his garage. Were you looking for something specific in the trailer? We were looking for a garage door remote and a pair of women's gloves. Why? What for? I'm assuming the garage door remote, so it's easier for you guys to access the garage here on out, but I don't know, why the women's gloves? I mean, he had a girlfriend that lived with him, or did she live with him? I think she lived with him. Fiance, sorry, I think, what was her name? I can't remember now, it's escaping me, but I wouldn't say Tracy, but I don't think that's right. I don't know. It'll come to me. All right, so let's get back to it. I don't know the women's clubs necessarily. I don't necessarily think that, I think they must have seen them in an original search that there was a garage door remote and a pair of women's gloves, and they wanted them, so they came back with a search warrant for that. Did you find either of those items? There was a pair of women's gloves found in a paper bag underneath the desk. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're not his girlfriend's. The last area of inquiry I have Lieutenant Lenk actually relates to other connections or other items that may be located in Manitowoc County. Let me specifically ask you whether you have ever seen any vial of Mr. Steven Avery's BLOOD in possession anywhere in Manitowoc County. No, sir, I have not. Did you ever, before the 5th of November, have knowledge of a vial of Mr. Avery's BLOOD in the Manitowoc County Clerk of Court's office? No, sir, I did not. Did you ever see a vial of BLOOD in the office? No, sir. Between the 3rd and the 5th of November, were you ever in the Manitowoc County Sheriff's office? No, sir, I was not. Lieutenant Lenk, did you ever obtain any BLOOD from the clerk's office, or did you obtain it from any location and planted on anywhere on the Avery salvage property? No, sir, absolutely not. Did you ever plant it anywhere in Teresa Halbach's vehicle or anywhere where it could be found as part of this investigation? No, sir, definitely not. Did you ever assist any other officer so that another officer could either plant evidence or try to in some way frame Mr. Avery for this homicide? No, sir. And lastly, had you ever heard from any member of the Manitowoc County law enforcement community that they had participated in some frame-up or planning of evidence? No, sir, there was not. And just to make sure, since we've gone through the key evidence, did you have any occasion to plant the Teresa Halbach's key or place her key in Avery's residence? Absolutely not. That's all I have. And now we've got cross-examination, which is also long, so be prepared. All right, so this is from Attorney String, who is right here where my mouse is circling. All right, so Attorney Dean String asking questions of Lieutenant Lenk, sorry. There's a Sergeant Lenk in the Karen Reed case, so I think that's why I keep saying Sergeant. Anyways, all right, so next year it will be quarter century that you've been involved in policing in one department or another. Lieutenant Lenk, close to a quarter, yes. You have, in the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, obtained what the fourth highest rank in that department? Yes, sir. Mr. Kratz, just a minute ago, I asked you whether you had, Mr. Kratz, just a minute ago, asked you, sorry, my brain is slowly dying. Mr. Kratz asked you just a minute ago whether you had ever heard from any member of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, any member that they had participated in a frame-up or planting evidence, concocting a case against Mr. Avery? Remember that question? Yes, sir. And your answer was no. You had not heard from any member of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department that they had done anything of the sort. That's correct. That includes about the 1985 case against Mr. Avery, doesn't it? I'm not sure. Not one of the officers of that department has ever told you that they had anything to do with a wrongful conviction in 1985 either, have they? No one's ever told me they had anything to do with a wrongful conviction. You worked with Sheriff Peterson for a number of years? Yes, sir. You knew him to be directly involved in that earlier case? Yes, sir. And no one ever admitted doing anything wrong in connection with the earlier case to you, did they? Not to me, no, sir. Now, do you suppose, Lieutenant Lenk, that if an officer lets use you, do you suppose that if you had taken a vial of BLOD from the clerk of court's office, planted it, or caused it to be planted in Teresa's vehicle, and told no one before today, do you suppose that if a defense lawyer stood up and asked you, did you plant blood in Teresa Halbach's car, do you suppose you'd tell me the truth? Yes, sir. You would? I did not. I think he means I did not do that. What you're accusing me of. And if you had done it, do you think you'd admit it here under oath? I didn't do that. It's ridiculous. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, he is mad. I didn't do that. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous claim that I have any kind of misconduct. So it's going to be self-righteous about it. You know, a lot of people they don't feel like they do anything wrong that might hurt other people, yet they do. All right. Would you admit it under oath? If under oath, I would admit it. Yes. I'm sorry. If I did it, I would admit it. You would admit it. Now, you know that planting the BLOD would have at least been a crime under Wisconsin law? Yes, sir. It probably would have been a federal crime as well, correct? I'm not positive to that. I don't know. To the extent that you were seeking to deprive someone, Mr. Avery, for example, of his civil rights, it would have been a federal crime as well. I wasn't trying to do anything to deprive him of his civil rights. I understand that's your testimony. If you or someone else had planted evidence, you expect that would have been a federal crime as well. If it would have been planted, yes. All right. And your testimony is that you'd come in here, and because some defense lawyer asked you, you'd confess this to 12 jurors that you had done it. I probably would if I had done it. Liar. I don't believe that for a second. All right. Would you expect every member of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department to do the same? Attorney Kratt says objection, speculation, judge, and the court sustains it. And we're going to move on a little bit here. All right. Do you know a woman in the clerk of court's office by the name of Teresa Shabesta? No, I don't know that name. Teresa in the clerk of court's office. I'm talking about the Manitowoc County Clerk of Court's office. No, sir. All right. Did you at any time during the course of your probably early career serve at times as a bailiff for the Manitowoc County Circuit Court? No, sir. I don't think that I've ever served as a bailiff. All right. If she says that you had, she's simply mistaken? To my knowledge, I don't believe I served as a bailiff. Well, you would know, wouldn't you? Right. Okay. And you don't recall ever serving as bailiff? I don't recall. Any time. At all. All right. Now, in 2002, had you moved into the Detective Bureau about 4 years before that? Yes, sir. Okay. In 2002, while serving in the Detective Bureau, you were something called a designated evidence custodian for the entire department. I was an evidence custodian, yes. And by evidence custodian, what that means is that you had overall responsibility for keeping custody or track of all evidence that the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department may have in its possession. All evidence that was actually in the evidence room. Yes, sir. Okay, and we're going to explain that. Your department maintains an evidence room, right? Which is a locked area for the sheriff's department. Of the sheriff's department. Yes. Only the custodian and probably the sheriff or somebody else under the sheriff has a key to that evidence room. Yes, there's actually myself and another officer and the sheriff. But it's just a separate locked area within the department? That's correct. You know, while any deputy may have a key to the front door, so to speak, access to the evidence room is closely limited. That's correct. The custodian is one of a small number of people with keys to that room? Correct. We're going to skip to Maloo. Alright. The evidence custodian prepares that paperwork to document, the evidence away from tinkerers to revelers to chance. That's correct. All right. And then the evidence goes into the evidence room. Correct. When it's cataloged in some fashion or some record is kept of what's on the shelf, what shelf it's on, or its location, and the door is locked. Correct. That was your responsibility in 2002. Yes. That's the year that a judge, Judge Hazelwood of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's County Circuit Court, signed an order that some evidence from the 1985 case against Mr. Avery should be transferred to the state crime lab in Madison. Do you recall that? Yes. So he has access to not only all of the evidence in the crime lab, but also Avery's blood. And if he ever wanted to plant him, he would know where to get it. Right? I mean, if he ever wanted to frame someone for something, you got Steven. Got his blood on file. All right. As part of the process, evidence had to be obtained from the 1985 file at the clerk of court's office. Correct. Your best recollection is that you did not do that directly? No, sir, I did not. You think perhaps a deputy named Mike Shalou was the person who went over to the clerk's office to pick up the evidence? Yes, sir, he was. So you were the person who checked with evidence room in the sheriff's department for any remaining items from the 1985 case file against Mr. Avery. Is that right? On that particular date? In 2002. I think on that particular time I was just filled out a transmittal form for the evidence that was in the clerk of courts. Attorney Kratz says, Judge, I'm going to request a sidebar if we're going into this issue. So we go, I'm not going to tell you the sidebar, which is available in the description below. You can follow along in the description. Where is... Okay, this is a long sidebar. Yep, it's the long sidebar. Alright, so here's what the court says after all that. As the court understands the line of questioning that the defense wishes to undertake, the defense is hoping to establish that Mr. Lenk may have gained knowledge of the existence of the blood vial in the clerk's office through information he may have received from Officer Shalhoub. At this time, it's true there's a lot of unknowns as to whether the defense can link the chain, but the court believes that on cross-examination, it's something that the defense is entitled to attempt. Well, thank you very much. It's for giving me my entitlement. I feel like this judge feels like she has so much power. All right. Anyways, it's something that the defense is entitled to attempt, and the state can address it on redirect. So I'm going to allow the questioning. Attorney Kratz says, Judge, if I may, is the court allowing this for the purpose of the existence itself of the vial of blood in the clerk's office? In other words, that this witness was aware that there was a vial in the clerk's office. The court says, well, if he says he was aware of the existence of such vial, yes. If he does not, then no. Well, it's a peculiar question because Mr. Kratz's entire last series of questions clearly implied the existence of a vial of BLOOD in the clerk's office, clearly implied that it was admissible here, and elicited from Mr. Lenk his denial that he never went to the clerk's office or obtained any goods there. I don't know. That's pretty crazy. I didn't read through them. Did I lose my place again? No. No, I didn't go this far. I didn't want to read all this case argument back and forth. I don't remember where I left off either. Why do I keep losing my space? It's like sometimes it doesn't want to scroll, and then sometimes it scrolls too much. I know we read through this by Attorney Strang. No, we haven't gotten this far. Oh, okay. Oh. Okay. Court finally says, I don't know that I would agree with that characterization. The questions mentioned of the vial of blood and whether or not the witness or witnesses were aware of the existence of it. But at that point in the trial, I don't think we've received any evidence that there was such a vial. Yeah, I haven't seen it in any kind of court documents, but that's the rumor that's out there. At any rate, I'm going to allow the defense to pursue its line of questioning. So at this point, we can have the witness break in, and the jurors can be brought in. I don't know. I'm tired. All right, so let's keep on going. All right, so by Attorney Strang, Exhibit 214, which that I don't have. All right, so it's an evidence transmittal form that goes to the state's crime lab. That's what Exhibit 214 is. We don't have a copy. Whose writing is on it? That's mine. When did you prepare that evidence transmittal form? September 19th of 2020, of 2002. This relates to the 1985 case against Steven Avery. Yes. This is the evidence we were discussing just before the break that Mr. Kratz requested. Yes. All right. Now, this is a form that you would have prepared or you did prepare to document. Again, when an item of evidence is moving from place A to place B, correct? Correct. And then if it comes back from place B to place A, you would document that as well. If it had come back to the evidence room, yes. Correct. And this is part of something that you as an evidence custodian or former evidence custodian now know as maintaining the chain of custody. I feel bad for her for getting all these hates, but I kind of agree. I don't know. It's not that bad, but it's interesting. All right. Where'd we go? All right, so yes, so by chain the metaphor is that from the moment you see or gather evidence, every person who touches that evidence along the way is a link in the chain, and you want to make sure that all the links are there. That's correct. So that when the evidence comes to court, there's an unbroken chain, if you will. All the links are present back to the time that the evidence was seized. That's correct. This document, Exhibit 214, is a document intended to establish one of those links, essentially. That's correct. Now, the time that you sent on or about September 19th, 2002 to the State Crime Lab included hair and fingernail cuttings. That's correct. It was one box of items containing those things. Correct. Correct. To be treated by use of DNA procedures according to the circuit court order. Correct? Correct. You did not transmit a vial of BLOOD to the State Crime Lab on September 19th, 2002. I didn't transmit anything. You didn't cause to be transmitted or document the transmittal of a vial of blood on Exhibit 214? No, I had no knowledge of the vial. That is, sir, as evidence custodian, did you go over the clerk of court's office to examine the 1985 court file and take from it the things that were to be sent to the State Crime Lab? No, sir, I did not. You did not personally do that. No, sir. Although you were the evidence custodian of the department, correct. But these items were exhibits held by the court since the end of the trial. Yes, sir. Which is exactly what you wrote on Exhibit 214. Correct? Correct. So you were aware on September 19th that the court was holding exhibits in Mr. Avery's trailer case, earlier case, since the end of the trial. I was aware of this exhibit, yes. So he knew about Steven Avery's blood in a vial, in a box somewhere, in evidence. All right, so actually you used the plural as exhibits. Correct? Presumably you mean hair and fingernail cuttings. Yes. All right. When a court pulls evidence after a trial, where is that held? I don't know. Suppose that's what the clerk of court does. I would guess so. All right. Who did you send over to the clerk of court's office to obtain the hair and fingernail cuttings described in Exhibit 214? Sergeant Mike Shalou went over. Damn, you can't get better than this. All right, I'm sorry. I was calling him deputy, and I didn't mean to take him down a rank. So to your knowledge, Sergeant Mike Shalou went over to the clerk of court's office. Correct. Under your direction, yes. And then he brought those items back to you in the sheriff's office. No, sir, he did not. How did you come to compare the form? The form was prepared and given to him before he went to the clerk of court's office. So you didn't. You were signing this form as a transmittal and criminal transmittal of criminal evidence, and didn't document what he actually obtained or sent. That's true. Entrusted him with the task. He in this court, yes. And then presumably that went off to the state crime lab. Yes, sir. Were you still the evidence custodian when it went back? Yes. But I had no knowledge of when it came back. Okay, do you even know what it did? Do you even know that it did come back? I don't know if it did come back. You have no reason to doubt it. I would assume it did come back. I don't know that. So would I. I mean, but you just don't know, one way or the other. In relation, well, the Sheriff's Department in Manitowoc County, and let's use 2002 as our time reference. September of 2002 was located in the same building that houses the jail. Correct. All right, let's skip through that portion here. And where is the clerk of court's offices? Would be on the first floor of the courthouse? Yes, sir. Now, you were invited by the gentleman over farthest to the right in the back, Special Agent Fassbender, on December 8th. Does that sound right? 2006. Sounds about right, yes. You knew that a question had been raised about this vial of blood that Mr. Kratz referred to. I was informed that by that day by Agent Fassbender that the blood vial existed. And you wanted to ask some questions and he wanted to ask some questions of you about the blood vial. Yes. Explained to you that an issue had been raised about integrity in this investigation. Yes. And that you wanted to answer his questions. Yes. You wanted to hear them truthfully. Yes. To clear up any questions about the blood vial or the integrity of this investigation. Correct. You would be truthful in any event when answering the law enforcement officer's questions. Is that a question, sir? Yes. Yes, I would. Lying to a law enforcement officer who's performing his duties, i.e., itself a crime. Yes. In the state of Wisconsin, sir, you told Special Agent Fassbender on December 8th that you had filled out this evidence transmittal form, Exhibit 214. Correct. Just as you told us today that you went on the transmittal form that the exhibits had been held by the court since the end of the trial. That's what I was told, yes. That's what you told Special Agent Fassbender, correct. And you told him, you told Special Agent Fassbender as well that it was your memory that Sergeant Shalou had obtained from items from the clerk of court's office and transmitted them from there. That's correct. Were you interviewed just about a 9-month by an investigator Steyer from the Calumet County Sheriff's Department? Could be. I believe so. I'm not sure. Which part are you not sure about? I'm not sure on the date. I know I did talk to Investigator Steyer. And on January 11th, did you tell Investigator Steyer that you had no idea that the Steven Avery file was kept in the Manitowoc County, I can never say, County Clerk of Court's office? Was there, oh, I thought there was a footnote. I think it was my mouse. You didn't know there was a file, but you knew that there were exhibits from the file. I didn't know there were other exhibits over there other than the one that I had dealt with. So you thought that perhaps the hair and fingernail cuttings were the only exhibits that the court had held since the end of the trial. I don't know. Let me read that question again. So you thought that perhaps the hair and fingernail cuttings were the only exhibits that the court had held since the end of the trial. He says, I don't know. So there's an issue with the hair, fingernail, and blood samples. And did it get withheld? Did it get returned? We don't know. All right, so you are the only lieutenant of detectives? Yes, sir. Do you know, as you sit here today, Lieutenant Lenk, how many keys the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department has to the clerk of court's offices? No, sir, I have no idea. Do you know that the Sheriff's Department is responsible for security in the Manitowoc County Courthouse? Yes, sir. The courthouse, of course, includes the clerk of court's office, right? Correct. And a number of other offices in the courthouse, correct. The Sheriff's Department has overall responsibility for security in that entire building. Yes, sir. And its officers, correct. I want to move to Mr. Avery's civil suit. The lawsuit here. All right. And the backdrop on that is Mr. Avery being released from prison? You remember that? Yes, sir. That made big news. Yes, sir. It did. 2003? Yeah, I believe it was 2003. And by big news, I mean this was something that was on the televisions. Yes, it was. You recall it being in the newspapers? Yes, sir. You recall the newspapers shining a light, so to speak, on your department? Yes, sir. Examining the way that earlier convictions had been handled? Correct. You understood that your department had been an investigating agency in the 1985 case? Yes, sir. You understood that investigative process led to serious charges being brought against Mr. Avery. That's correct. Unfortunately, led to his conviction. Correct. And that in turn I'm struggling here to just even read. Sorry. Okay. And that it turned out he hadn't committed the crimes. According to the release, yes, apparently he had not. Do you have any question about that? No, sir, I don't. So this guy thinks that Steven still could have done the first crime. That's what that just means. I'll read that portion again. All right, unfortunately led to his conviction, yeah, and it turned out he hadn't committed the crimes. According to the release, yes, apparently he had not. Wow. Do you have any question about that? He says. No, I don't. Any doubt in your mind about whether Mr. Avery was innocent of the crimes for which he was convicted? No, sir, I have no knowledge of the case. I would not hazard a guess one way or the other. Simply a matter on which you have no opinion? Pretty much. I don't believe that either. Is this another one of those things that you didn't care about one way or another? I would say, other than the fact that it involved my department, I really didn't care one way or the other. Okay, that was a phase. That was a phase you recall just yesterday when Mr. Kratz asked you how you felt about it or what you cared about. What you cared about Mr. Avery's lawsuit. This is hard to read because it's like jumbled. Correct. Now you remember, not the exact time, of course, but you remember the general event of Mr. Avery filing a civil lawsuit. Yes, sir. Filed it against Manitowoc. Yes. Relating to the actions of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. Yes, sir. I believe that's what it was. There is a sheriff's office in the state of Wisconsin as a county office. Correct? Yes. So you understand that the lawyer put in issue the actions of your department. Yes. Do you care when the lawsuit was filed? I am not exactly sure what you mean by that, sir. Did you care about the lawsuit being filed? No, sir, I did not. Didn't care at all that the county was being sued over the actions of your department? I didn't have any involvement in the case, and I really didn't have an opinion one way or another. I call bull. And you didn't care one way or the other who won the lawsuit, if I understand your testimony. I didn't say anything about caring who won or not. I just said I didn't really care about the lawsuit. Okay. Didn't care about the lawsuit. If you didn't care one way or the other who won or lost. No, sir. What? All right, you didn't, or are you agreeing, or no, sir. I didn't care one way or the other. All right, and I understand you to be saying that you didn't care one way or the other. Then whether someone who had been wrongfully convicted got some compensation for that. I felt if he was wrongfully convicted, then yes, he should have some compensation. Then how is it that you didn't care one way or the other? I didn't really have a strong opinion on one way or the other. All right, but if he happened to get some compensation, that would be all right for you? That would be fine. All right. Do you think somebody who goes to prison for a long time for a crime he didn't commit ought to get some compensation? I believe so. But you didn't have a strong opinion about the one way or the other. No, sir. Did you have a strong opinion one way or the other about the fact that the man your department missed back in 1985 was out free on the streets because Mr. Avery was doing his time? That's a good question. And of course, Attorney Kratz objects relevance. Your Honor, the court says, Mr. Strang, I'm exploring his attitudes about the lawsuit and its complexities. This isn't a Kratz says, this isn't a consequence of the lawsuit at all, Judge. Court says, yeah, I'm going to sustain the objection. He should still be able to ask questions on it. Alright, Attorney Strang continues, do you care one way or the other, Lieutenant Lenk, about whether your department gets the right guy in a criminal investigation? Definitely. That you do care about? Yes, sir. Now, this was the lawsuit that eventually had your deposition. Yes, sir. Your deposition on, I think, October 11th, 2005. I believe that's the date. I'm not positive. I won't even bother to mark this, but I don't want to have you have any questions about it. I'm showing you the transcript of your deposition. What's the date of that deposition? October 11th, 2005. Lieutenant, was October 11th the first time you had ever had your deposition taken regarding this lawsuit? Regarding anything? No, sir. I believe I've done it at least once before. Had a deposition before? All right. Oh, this was, though, something unusual for you? Yes. You were subpoenaed. Is that a question, sir? Or, yes. Yes, I was. And you asked, or you were asked, a number of questions? That's correct. All right, we can stop there for that. And I think you told us that one, sort of the major topic of this deposition was the telephone call that Sergeant Holman, in fact, when he was in jail, he received some years earlier. That's correct. Sergeant Coburn told you about that telephone call, didn't he? Yes, in 2003. That is, he told you about it on the very day of Steven Avery's release. On the very day, didn't he? I don't recall. He doesn't recall anything. It could have been, yes. But you all were having a conversation about Mr. Avery being released from prison? Right. I don't know if we are having a conversation about that specifically, no. But in any event, whether there was a conversation or not, Officers Coburn had given you his information and you thought it may or may not be relevant. That's correct? All right. And you have told Officer Coburn he ought to pass it along to the sheriff. I am so struggling, guys. I apologize. These long streams make it difficult to get through this text. My brain and my tongue get tired. All right, and you told Officer Coburn he ought to pass it along to the sheriff. Yes, sir. And the two of you went to Sheriff Peterson together about it. Yes, sir, I believe we did. And Sheriff Peterson suggested that maybe the two of you ought to prepare a short report or statement about that. That's correct. You prepared that statement on September 12th, 2023. I believe it was the same day, yes. Do you recall that, or do you not, as being the day after Steven Avery was released from prison? I don't specifically recall if that had been the same day. Did you consider the possibility that you might be added as a defendant to the civil lawsuit? No, sir, I did not. Never crossed your mind? No, sir. I'm going to skip to Malou. Alright, so had you known Investigator Weir before Miss Halbach was reported missing? I had met him on a couple of occasions, yes, sir. Periodically? Or professionally, sorry. Professionally? Professionally, yes, sir. Same collaboration between your two departments is not usual. Or some collaboration. Sorry, my eyes, what the That's right. Because you're adjoining counties, correct? And you're quite sure that it was Investigator Weigert who called you, not the other way around? All I know is that I did talk to Investigator Weigert. I don't know who called who. Oh, at this point. So if Investigator Weigert says that you were the one who called him, you're now prepared to accept that? I would have had to had some reason to call him. I may have been paged by dispatch or some other reason, but that would have been the reason. May have. I would have called him. May have heard about this missing person from Detective Remacher? Someone else under you? That's possible. All right. Is it possible then that you were the one who placed the call to Investigator Weigert? That's possible. So you wouldn't disagree with him if that's the way he put it in the paper? If that's how he put it in the paper, he's probably right. Not really, because we can't trust any of these officers, but okay. We know Proctor plants taillight evidence, and that's Karen Reed. My brain is always on Karen Reed. We can't trust these guys because they plant car keys and blood evidence. I'm jumping ahead here a couple of days to November 5th, that it was your understanding that Calumet County Sheriff's Department would write all the reports in this case. Yes, sir, that was my understanding, but then there were no reports written, so that's interesting. No reports written by Manitowoc, so that leaves them unaccountable for anything. So you people were actively searching buildings, cars, garages, all sorts of places on that property. Yes, sir. You were identifying evidence. Yes, sir. You were attempting to identify evidence and you interviewed people? Oh, wait. Yes, sir. We were attempting to identify evidence. So you interviewed people. I think the only interview was on the 4th with Mr. Avery. That in which you personally participated? Yes, sir. And it was your understanding that you weren't going to prepare any reports as a department about any of that? We were told when we were assigned to do searching to let them do the report writing, to take the evidence, and basically we were just there as support to do the searching. Have you ever been involved in an investigation before in which it was decided beforehand that you would not write reports about what you were doing? No, sir. Have you been involved in one since then when it was decided that you didn't have to write reports? No, sir. You understand that when you write a report, you're committing yourself to paper on what the facts are that are described in that report. You understand that, don't you? That's correct. And if you don't write a report, I guess you're not committed to any version of the facts, are you? We're committed to the facts. We just didn't write the reports. Ah, but how would one know what it is that you say the facts are if you haven't put them down on paper? How would we learn that? From the officer that wrote the reports. From the officer who wrote the reports or by hearing you testify in court? That's correct. Well, as it happens, you eventually did prepare something of a report here, didn't you? Yes, sir, I did. A page or two. I believe it was a page, yes. Now, you mentioned just a moment ago the November 4th interview with Mr. Avery. Yes, sir. This is the morning after Mr. Avery has been reported missing. Yes, sir. And you personally, as the lieutenant of detectives, took it upon yourself to go out and interview Mr. Avery. As I said before, we were requested by Investigator Wiegert to go out and re-interview Mr. Avery. Did Mr. Wiegert request that you personally go out and interview Mr. Avery? I don't recall. I don't recall if it was specific or just asked somebody to go out and interview him. All right, and you decided that one of those people would be you. Yes. And then you took Detective Remacher with you. Yes, sir. He's a detective working under you, obviously. Yes. All right, so moving on. At this point, Steven Avery was just a person of interest. Yes, sir. So the two of you went out to Mr. Avery's. Yes, sir. He was cooperative? Yes, sir. When Detective Remacher asked if you folks could take a walk through his house, he said, sure, or words to that effect? Correct. Gave you his consent, as they say? Yes, sir. You walked through his entire house quickly. Detective Remacher walked through the house. Yes, sir. You stayed outside? I stayed in the living room with Mr. Avery. So there's that. All right, so you worked, though, a number of years in the Road Patrol Division yourself. Yes, sir, I did. It was common in Road Patrol to call in a license plate? Yes, sir. You might be a traffic stop, or that might be a traffic stop, correct? Correct. Where you would then call into dispatch with a license plate that you were seeing, and dispatch could tell you to whom the plate was registered. Correct. Dispatch could also tell you what car the plate ought to be on. Yes, sir. And this would be done typically over the radio. Yes, sir. Road patrol officers have a radio unit in their car, their squad car? Correct. So they have, I'm going to skip this portion. They have a collar mic and a portable mic and like a squad car, whatever. Okay, so but all of the road patrol officers have both a radio in the squad car and some sort of possible radio that goes with them. So a portable one versus one in the car. They can call their team for backup or call dispatch. Really, that's where it goes. All right, so that's correct. Typically, when you're calling in a license plate, you would use the radio when you're on duty. Yes, sir. A radio, though, is something that citizens, if they have a police scanner, can overhear. Yes, sir. If it's a regular frequency, yes. Right. I mean, it's a broadcast frequency. Correct. I want you to listen to Exhibit 212. And Kratz says, I'm sorry, Judge. Is this the witness involved in this call? If not, it will be hearsay. And Strength says, I'm offering it for the truth. Then what's the relevance? He says, first of all, I can't get it to make noise at all. All right, 10:30, break, whatever. We're going for a break. All right, I have to sit up. These long streams are killer on my hips and my voice and just everything. Sorry. Okay. let's get through this. We're almost done, I think. All right. I thought I thought I got a lot of. Oh, there's an argument here. Okay. So now we're back, and Strang says, Lieutenant Lenk, when we took our break, I think you had just explained to the jurors, certainly the typical procedure in calling in a license plate check would be for the road patrol officer to use a radio. That's correct, sir. Now, are you familiar with the taping system or telephone lines at the sheriff's department? Vaguely familiar, yes. Okay, you know that dispatch radio traffic is tape recorded? All of it? The radio traffic? Yes, sir. All right, some of the telephone lines that the dispatcher answers also are tape recorded. Yes, sir. That's not something known by every officer in the department. I wouldn't know if they all know about it. I mean, the majority probably know about it. Okay, something you've learned in your management position? Yes. Now, I'm going to play Exhibit 212 for you. The voice is not on here. We've heard testimony about this, but I want you to listen to whether you can identify whether this appears to be a radio call or a call on a telephone line. Okay? Yes, sir. So they play the Lynn Andy did I guess I didn't have it ready. Alright, so the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. Maybe I can find it real quick. I had the link, but now I don't. I'll just play it. It's just audio anyway, so I can play it on my phone. Forgot what I license. Alright, so the license plate lookup for James. Okay, here. Wait. Yeah, here.
Do you recall at any time during the meeting with Sheriff Peterson there being anyone close?
Oh, wait, no, that's a deposition. Where's the call? Here. Oh, wait, that's... We listened to it last time. That's what it is. We listened to it last time because it was Colburn, but we're going to listen to it again because they're talking about the license plate lookup. So I'm going to play it here on my phone. And you'll see the text scrolling too.
Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, this is Lynn.
Lynn.
Hi, Andy.
You run Sam William Henry 582.
Okay, it shows that she's a missing person, and it lists to Teresa Halbach.
Okay.
Okay, that's what you're looking for, Andy?
99 Toyota.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Bye-bye.
Wait,
Okay.
that was an edited one because they cut out half of the text. But here is where, okay, so down here, okay, that's what we're looking for when she says, and it was to Teresa Halbach. That was an edited version. So, where's the full version?
Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, this is Lynn.
Lynn.
Hi, Andy.
You run Sam William Henry 582. See if he comes back to that.
Sam William Henry 582. I need to tell her then, please. Oh, ready? Do you speak any Spanish there, Andy? I'm just going to call on the top of the list. It's mine. On call, didn't call me back. So when I get in trouble, Andy, I get in trouble.
What?
You know? What am I supposed to do?
Oh, there.
My favorite one is in the city of Manitowoc. Yes. Okay, it shows that she's a missing person, and it lists to Teresa Halbach.
Okay.
Okay, that's what you're looking for, Andy?
99 Toyota.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Bye-bye.
There you go. So, the hell? Why are my settings all messed up now? I don't know. Very odd. Okay, sorry, something distracted me. All right, we're almost done here. Let's get through this. All right, so we listened to that. Now, what's the question? All right, so, okay, first of all, did you recognize the voices? Yes, sir, I did. Lynn is a dispatcher at the sheriff's department. That's correct. Andy is Andy Colburn. Yes, it sounded like Andy Colburn. Sergeant Andy Colburn? Yes. Okay, well, the portable radios are sheriff's department equipment? Yes, sir, they are. They're not to be taken home ordinarily. They can be taken home. There's chargers that are kept at home also. In case you get called from home, that's correct. All right, squad cars are not taken home. No, sir. So obviously the radio in the squad car wouldn't be available to somebody when he's off duty. No, sir. Now, let's go back to November 5th. You get a call while you're off duty sometime that morning. Yes, sir. And you tell your wife you're sorry, but you don't want to go to work, but you gotta go into work. That's correct. There's this stop at Wendy's that they take. So he's out looking at trailers or something with his wife, and they were looking for something to buy, a car or a trailer or something. And in the middle of that, he gets a call to come in, and so they leave where they're at, but they stop and get lunch, which is odd. His wife insists that they stop and get lunch from Wendy's, which, I don't know, it's just odd. All right, so they go to Wendy's. Yes, sir. And from Wendy's, essentially you go home and then go off to work. That is correct, sir. Now, what you testified yesterday, as I understand you, is what you arrived at the Avery salvage property just shortly after 2:05 or something like that. That's correct, sir. All right, so I guess I stopped there. I didn't need to read that last sentence. In any event, you remember one event, a hearing in which you were under oath? Correct, sir. Now, the oath, of course, was the same you took today. Correct. And were you asked on that occasion the following questions, and did you give these answers? So he's going to be reading from a document. Question: and did you in fact arrive at the Avery property? Your answer: yes. Question: do you know what time? Answer: I'm not sure of the exact time, somewhere 6:30 or 7 that evening. I'm not positive. Were you asked those questions and did you give those answers? Yes, sir, I did. And then a few minutes later, in the same hearing, you were asked again, this time I think by one of the prosecutors. Question: all right. Attorney Strang: all right, I'm sorry. All right. And when did you arrive at the property, the morning or the afternoon? Your answer: late afternoon. Question: late afternoon? Answer: yes. Did you give that testimony? Yes, I did, sir. Now, you don't recall signing in on the log when you arrived at the Avery property on November 5th, do you? No, sir, I don't recall signing in. You do recall signing out? I believe by then there was an officer at the end of the road, yes. So if we were to look through the log sheets, we would look in vain for any spot where you signed on the in that day. As far as I know, I don't have access to that log, to the loggings. All right, so he's not in them. All right, I show you Exhibit 142. Let's see. We can probably take these away so that good housekeeping, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That look like the log from Avery property from November 5th, 2005? Yes, it looks like that. Yes. And if you flip through to 10:41 p.m., I don't remember if it's military or yes, sir. You and David Remacher and Sergeant Coburn are signing out at the same time. That's correct, sir. Now you understand. Oh, I don't know. Keep going. I was just reading the highlighted parts. But see, I mean, there's something fishy going on here. And did you go up onto the ridge behind the depression to get closer to the Toyota? No, sir, I did not. How far or how close to the Toyota did you go? Where those vehicles are parked, then the squad car. So he's saying you didn't even get close to the vehicle. Well, you were asked again at the August 9th hearing, pages 197 to 198. Did you go down to the area where it, meaning the Toyota, had been located? And your answer was, I went down there with another officer. He showed me the location where it was, but I didn't really see it. I mean, from what I seen, it was getting dark and it was hidden, but I didn't get a good look at it. Is that your testimony on August 9th? Yes, it is. Okay. Now, later that evening or afternoon, you volunteered to be one of the officers who searched Steven Avery's residence. We were asked to assist in searching the residence. Yes. Well, all right. Page 203. Do you recall being asked this question and did you give this answer? So, you volunteered to be one of the officers who searched Steven Avery's residence. Your answer, yes, sir. Was that your testimony? Yes, sir. And then, as far as you know, Lieutenant Lenk, Sergeant Coburn also volunteered to be one of the searchers of Steven Avery's residence? Yes, sir. I believe so. And Detective Remacher? Yes, sir. Correct. And actually, were 4 of you in that search party? Isn't that right? That's correct, sir. Lenk, Coburn, Remacher, and Mr. Tyson? Correct, sir. Tyson was from Calumet County, of course. Yes, sir. And the rest of you were from Manitowoc County. Correct. It just doesn't make sense to me. All right, so you understand that a Calumet officer was to be with all searchers all times on the property? Yes. He stuck close to you as you searched on November 5th? We were all in the same trailer. We were close to each other. Yes, sir. Were you ever out of Sergeant Tyson's earshot? I don't believe so, no. No? He stuck pretty close to all 3 of you at all times, didn't he? Yes, sir. It would have been hard for you to do anything unobserved by Sergeant Tyson on November 5th. I would believe so, yes, sir. One of the things that that he saw you doing was bagging up some evidence near the end, wasn't it? Yes, sir. It was at his direction. So first he said we weren't bagging up anything. Everybody was Calumet was supposed to be doing all the collecting of the evidence, but now he just said he collected evidence. So he didn't actually collect everything. He directed you to bag some of the evidence. The evidence was already bagged. I was directed on putting numbers on the bags from his identification numbers. All right. If he described you as being the one who bagged the evidence, you would disagree with that? I would disagree. I think my function at that point was recording numbers on the bags and identifications. Then turning things ultimately over to Sergeant Tyson? That's correct, sir. Now, I won't go through all of the searches in any great detail, but You're back in the house on November 6th, correct? Yes, sir. And you're in the Steven Avery's garage on November 6th? Yes, sir. You described that here today, if I recall, right? As being about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, you were in Steven's garage? I believe so. Hour and 47 minutes. Sound more like it? That could be, yes. On the morning of the 6th, when you searched Mr. Avery's garage, you also seized everything that you saw that you thought had evidentiary value that day, didn't you? Yes, sir, at that time. The 7th, you're back in his house. Correct. And of course, the 8th, and this is the one you say she was the thorough search? Yes, sir. The thorough search with 3 people, not 4? Correct. I had nothing to say. I mean, it's just so blatantly obvious and inappropriate that this guy was even in the house. Obviously. Alright, in any event, you are back in the bedroom on the 8th, correct? Correct. Now, you guys are in there almost an hour, something like that. I would think, not sure of the time, I think possibly an hour. Okay, what you do know is that you left that bedroom to go to the living room at some point. That's correct. To get boxes or bags or for evidence. That's correct. And you see the key immediately after your return from the living room. When I walked into the room, yes, sir. That's when you first see the key. Correct, sir. Another computer animation or computer image? Yes, sir. You see that little item up in the corner next to the bookcase there? Yes, sir. That's supposed to be the key. Yes, sir. They made some animation. I don't have it. Sorry, guys. All right, so that's about where you saw it in the general area. Yes, sir. But when you saw it, there were a number of things sort of cluttering the room that aren't in the computer, in the computer image. There was a pair of slippers there, yes. A pair of slippers and some sort of, looks like a dog or little lion sort of figure as a doorstop. Something like that. And a notebook from some other miscellaneous junk in the little bookcase there. Correct, sir. And a number of other things that just aren't in the computer pictures. Correct. But the basic location of the key. That's correct. Generally speaking, yes. Now that key had a blue part unintelligible on it, didn't it? It's a lanyard. A blue what? The court says a lanyard as attached to the ring on the key. Yes, sir. And that is this one. It's blue. You can see in this picture that it's very blue, but in the lighting in this picture makes it look almost black. But the lanyard is the blue piece of fabric with the clip at the end. Alright, so a lanyard attached to the ring of the key. Yes, sir, I believe so. And I'm going to skip the description of the key because you can see it for yourself. Alright, so on November 8th, did you have any reason to go into Mr. Avery's bedroom? You know, the bedroom, laundry room, or bathroom, sorry, bathroom. Did you have any reason to go into Mr. Avery's bathroom? You know, the bathroom, laundry room combination. I think there was some items that had to be collected there. I think it was some suspected blood spatter or something. Blood drops, something. Yeah, something like that. So you were involved in that as well. No, sir, I did not collect that. Were you in the bathroom? I don't recall. I may have been in the bathroom. Really? certainly you know you were in there on November 5th, the night you did the full general search of the house. Correct. The bathroom, you recall as having Mr. Avery's toothbrush. Could be, sir. Or could be, yes, sir. Or a toothbrush. What did I say? Or a hairbrush, maybe? Could be, yes. Razors, these kinds of things, yes. Ordinary toiletry items. I'm assuming if they were there, yes. I don't recall that. So I've got Exhibit 210 up on the screen. That's this one. That's that image. 210 up on the screen, and what we've got here is what we're calling a bookcase. Is that in the position it was when you walked in from the living room and saw the key lying there? Yes, sir, I believe so. Not quite flush to the wall, but close? Yes, sir. Now, what you have, now that you have that zoomed in, Exhibit 210, tell me, there's a key ring. Is that right? That looks like a key ring. Yes. I mean, there was a key ring, in other words. All right. And then the blue fabric, the lanyard we were talking about, correct? Correct. And I guess it's the female end of the clasp, right? All right. Now, you see a house key on there? No, sir, I do not. A garage key? No, sir. How about even one work key? No, sir. A swipe card for a gym? No, sir. Or an athletic club? No, sir. Just the long Toyota key? Yes, sir. That's all that it was when you saw it? Yes, sir. So where's the rest of her keys? Where's all the things that people have on their keychains? Where's all the other, I mean, she has to have a house key, at least. So was this a spare key that was found in the car or something that was used? I don't know. All right, let's skip down. Now this photograph, whenever it's taken, is taken after someone has pulled the bookcase away from the wall a little bit. That's correct. That is in Exhibit 169. The bookcase is farther away from the wall than when you first saw the Toyota key. Correct, sir. And we can see the back panel veneer, or part of the board. I'm sorry, I don't have it. I looked for it. I didn't have the exhibits, some of them. So you look for the back, what was I saying? Question. And we can see that back veneer panel, or part of the board, whenever the panel is on the back. Yes, sir. All right, but did you touch this bookcase at some point? I had been searching the front of the bookcase. Yes, sir. Okay. And I mean, was it collected as evidence? The bookcase? Yes. At this time, no, sir. So the bookcase wasn't collected. So how are you supposed to know that you could recreate that key falling out of that bookcase without the bookcase? So it wasn't collected. Did someone empty out that bookcase in your sight? I believe, yes, it was searched. I don't recall watching them search it. I was on the other side of the room. You didn't see a blue lanyard and a black clasp on the Toyota key in the back in the bookcase, did you? No, sir, I did not. So he searched that bookcase before. Did you get a glance into the bookcase? Was it empty? He says, I glanced in. I didn't really take a hard look in there. No, sir. All right, so that's something that you would have seen if the bookcase was empty and you'd looked in it. Had I looked closely? Yes, sir. And you're not you're not suggesting that the key and the lanyard and the ring and the clasp were somehow wedged up into the space where the back veneer separates from the frame, are you? That's a possibility, yes. And nobody saw a blue lanyard hanging down? Absolutely not, sir. See how ridiculous you guys sound? Now, November 5th, when you volunteered with Mr. Coburn and Mr. Remacher to search Steven Avery's trailer. As of that time, you previously had talked with Sergeant Coburn about the depositions the two of you gave. I believe we did at some point, yes, sir. Talked before the depositions, didn't you? He asked me if I got a deposition subpoena, and I said yes. And the two of you had a little conversation about that. Yes, I had no idea what I was getting subpoenaed for, and he said it was because of a statement he had made. A statement, a phone call he had gotten? Correct, sir. From a Brown County law enforcement agency. That's what he said, sir. From a detective. Yes, sir. They had someone in custody. Yes, sir. I believe so. Someone who had committed a Manitowoc assault some years prior. It was a Manitowoc assault. I don't know if there was a time attached to it. I'm not sure. At least what Sergeant Colburn told you was it was a few years prior. The detective from the other Brown County agency was telling him. Yes, if that's what's on there. And the detective also told Coburn that he believed someone already was arrested for the crime. That's correct, sir. So Sergeant Coburn fills you in on what he thinks the depositions are about, and the two of you don't talk about the depositions after them? After the depositions? Right. We may have mentioned it to each other. Okay, but it's less than 4 weeks later, November 5th. And one thing you do know is that you didn't mention that deposition to Special Agent Fassbender. That's correct, sir. You didn't mention it to Investigator Mark Wiegert. That's correct. Didn't hear Sergeant Coburn mention the depositions to either of the two gentlemen either. Not to my recollection, no, sir. It didn't tell Sheriff Poggle that you'd been deposed 3-4 weeks earlier? No, sir. Had Steven Avery actually been sitting there during your deposition? He came in after I had started giving my deposition, yes, sir. And without you telling Mr. Fassbender and Mr. Wiegert, Sheriff Poggle about the deposition, there's really no way they would have known about it, would they? No, sir. So that's not information they could consider in deciding whether to accept your offer to volunteer to search Mr. Avery's trailer. Because, oh wait, hold on. They didn't have that information, sir. Because you didn't give it to them. No, sir, I did not. In fact, you took the decision upon yourself that this was information they didn't need to have. At that time, I didn't even think about the deposition. Come on. Would it have been a little bit fairer to Mr. Fassbender if you had given him this information so that he, as the lead, one of the two lead investigators, could have considered it? It would have been more information for him. I don't know if it would have changed his decision. I don't know either, but would it have been fair to give him that information? Would it have been fair to give had I thought of it, yes. Would it have been fair to give that to Mr. Wiegert or Sheriff Poggle? Same answer, yes, sir. And before you went rummaging through Steven Avery's bedroom once, twice, 3 times, whatever it is, 4 hours, would it have been fairer to Steven Avery if someone other than a person who had been deposed in his lawsuit had done that search? No, sir, I don't think it would have been. Really? That's all I've got. Oh, I'm sorry. You came back to Mr. Avery's 4 months later, not quite 4 months later. Yes, March 1st and March 2nd of 2006. That's correct, sir. Much smaller search this time, wasn't it? Yes, sir. I believe it was just the garage. The entire rest of the property was not closed off to the public. No, sir, it was not. The rest of the property was not closed off to the Avery family. I believe it was not. Yes, sir. A search was going on in the garage. That's correct. You came back. Yes, sir. Did you participate in that search? No, sir, I did not. Why were you back? I came back to see if they needed any food, any assistance with supplies, see if I could help out. Baloney. You didn't go there to give them food? Wow. I went there to give them food and supplies. No, you didn't. Both days? I believe I was there both days. I'm not sure. That's all I have. And that's all I have for you guys. This was, ugh. Yeah. And that wasn't, I mean, his testimony is even longer than that. I didn't even read all of it. And that ends the redirect, or the cross, but then there is redirect and some recross, but I didn't think it was necessary to play all of that. But so now we've heard from Colburn, who shook the bookcase aggressively out of anger and frustration, and then we heard from Lenk, who found the key that supposedly fell out of that bookcase. So that's where we're at. I'm not sure what the next part's going to be. I'm going to try to get through the rest of this trial more speedily, I think, even though I like reading through the whole testimony of like one or key witnesses. We'll see. I don't know if I'm going to do Remacher. I think maybe that's overkill. Let's move on to like the next topic, which, what do I have? In case you guys are just wondering, you can put suggestions in as well. What do you guys want to know about regarding this case? Who do you want to hear from trial? I have it planned out for the rest of my episodes, but I don't know. I'm flexible and I can always change. So if you guys want to hear something different, let me know. So what do I have upcoming? Sherry Culhane. We're gonna have to do hers. So she's the one that says that it is Avery's DNA. She's the one that did the analysis of the blood in the Toyota RAV4, and there may be some issues with her testimony as well. We also have Blaine Dassey, Scott Todick coming up. We've got the doctors who did the autopsy. Or, well, what they could tell of what was left of her remains. And we've got Michael Halbach and Mark Wiegert still to get through. So, we still have a few episodes to go on the trial part, and that's just the state's case, and then we got to get to the defense's case. So I'm going to try to condense them a little bit more. But at this point, I think, we've gone through a lot of the main people so far, and I've given you synopses on the others, so hopefully we're getting a good idea of what this trial is like. And on that note, I am going to let you guys go. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you guys take care. Please hit the like button on your way out, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys. If you've been impacted by a true crime and would like your story told in your own words, or if you or someone you know has been wrongfully convicted or accused of a crime, please write to crimeandcourtchannel@gmail.com and tell us your real true crime encounters. Thanks for watching.